insights. Let me bring in Dr. Richard Munang from UNEP here. So whenever we ask this question around where is the money around bridging the climate finance gaps, the question is asked, where is the place for in-kind contributions? We don't necessarily give money, but we are doing our own small bits. Please speak to that issue briefly.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and accept greetings from the United Nations Environment Programme. The reality of the climate change discourse sometimes misses at those who are actually the pillars of everyday's action. If you look at the entire African continent today, Africa is an informal continent, but this doesn't take central stage because if you look, 80% of the work is created in the informal sector. These are our mamambogas, these are our juakali artisans. These people constitute the fabric of climate adaptation for the continent. And their everyday life, our mothers in communities who are turning agricultural waste, youth who are turning agricultural waste to organic fertilizer and applying that, sometimes they are not recognized in this discussion. So to answer your question, first of all, as a continent today, drought and floods, we see them. Our mothers, our brothers and sisters in communities are suffering as a result of this. Every minute, one person dies in the continent as a result of indoor pollution. These are our mothers in the communities. 80% of Africans depend on charcoal, firewood. 700,000 Africans die every year. And at the end of the day, they suffer. But they're also playing a role. The young people across the continent today are not recognized. Sometimes they're spoken and made as if they are the footnote. They're supposed to be the head note. We see them fabricating simple solar dryers. A mother in Mwe who grows rice loses 50 kilograms when there is a downpour. Young people in Kenya and across the continent have fabricated simple solar dryers using their skills and their talents. They don't even have access to money, but they are solving a problem. So the young people and our mamambogas are playing a big role. But this is what needs to be done. There are three things. We forget the soft aspect. Regardless of the trillions you get, if people's skills are not retooled, that money will not be able to bring transformational climate action. Skills retooling must become part and parcel of transformational climate action. Number two is incentives. And the incentives sometimes are discussed mostly at a higher level. But we need practical, simple incentives that leverages on what people in communities are used to. All of us who grew up in rural Africa know a thing or two about cooperatives. In Kenya, you call them chamars. Where I come from, in Cameroon, we call them jangis or tontins. Every community works through a cooperative. Let's leverage these cooperatives and let the big money that comes get done to be channeled through these accessible structures that are accessible to the common person, the ordinary person that plays a role every day. Because at the end of the day, it is those people who feel the impact of climate change, because if you carry your own water, you will know what every drop means.
Doc, thank you so much for that thought you've given us, especially around cascading this to the grassroots. Let me bring in Geoffrey Omido here from UNDP. Geoffrey, about the role of academia as far as innovative financing is concerned.
Yeah, very important question. You cannot be able to drive transformational, and I'll keep using this word, transformational climate action, because if you don't put it within the vision of national development, you are never really going to go that far. And the easiest way is to integrate this within the school curriculum. But one of the biggest aspects that needs to be done is that I talked about artisans here, Juakali. 80% of the work in the continent is created in the informal sector. And it is these Juakali artisans that are turning agricultural waste into fuel briquettes that are 2 to 4 times more effective than charcoal. And if you are to invest in them, you can be able to tap into a 20 billion charcoal market across the entire continent and 1.6 billion in Kenya. Why am I saying this? Developing curriculum, climate action entrepreneurship, where every student is taught at every levels of education is the best way to drive this transformational climate action. And the United Nations Environment Programme have been working with universities where we have the first climate action curriculum that have been developed in Nasarawa State University in Nigeria and by Esago University in Botswana. Why I am bringing this up is that if we don't leverage this different approach and a paradigm shift to start bringing climate entrepreneurship, into the educational curriculum. We might have all the money and still at the same time not have the human capital, which is the sovereign capital that we need, which are people's skills and talents.
Thank you for that. I'd like us to take closing remarks. I'm told we have 9 minutes only to go. So, Doc, in a minute, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure to share ideas here. I would like to leave just 4 points. The first one is that you can only compete from your position of strength. Africa's strength is her youth. The second is we must leverage on people's passion. An inspired person can be able to do that much. And if we inspire our youth, they can take Africa's transformation forward. The third aspect is that the informal sector have a credit facility that is on top of 300 billion. Leveraging accessible cooperatives can be able to tap this. And the last part is that of narrative. We project climate change as a liability. It's an investment opportunity. And therefore, we must be able to reshape that narrative to start showing the opportunities.
Geoffrey, a minute, please. Thank you so much. Let's appreciate this panel. And I'd like to thank you specifically for tuning in for our fireside chat. It wasn't a panel, it was very succinct and to the point. I'd like to invite you and to usher you back to your seats. Thank you so much.